Our first presenters are representatives from the Student Bar Association. Danny Kirwan and Paul Wasserman are going to make a little sketch for Herman. Gentlemen.
We're not expecting like entertainment. We're not going to dance or anything. We're from the Student Body Association. Unless you'd like to maybe write us letters so we can pass the bar and forget our third year of law school. My name is Paul Wasserman, and this is Danny Kirwan. We're here to represent the student body and the Student Bar Association. Professor Levy, where are you anyway? I'm sorry. Oh. I made it to the first year. Danny and I are currently second-year students. I'll give you a little background here at Santa Clara. We had Professor Levy here for our first year of law school in contracts. I'm sure probably half the room here has. No? Well, okay, sorry. And the thing about Professor Levy that's the reason that we're here is he's always somebody that you can usually go and talk to, whether it's a legal problem or you're trying to, get some information on moot court or, something you don't want to do any work on. So he's always a good source and things of that nature. But the thing that really Professor Levy stands out on is for first-year students. And as a lot of you remember, the first year is probably the most horrific experience you'll most attend, I'm sure. And I remember mine a little too well because, well, it was only last year. And I remember getting my schedule, and the schedule was pretty frightening. I'm going to mention some names here, and I know a lot of this is going to send shivers down your spines. I looked at the first thing I had was Torts with Professor Anawalt. Come on. Civil procedure with Professor Jimenez. Criminal law with Professor Galloway. Constitutional law with Professor Zareski, who's relatively new. And there at the bottom of the list was contracts with Professor Levy. And right away, for me, that was somewhat of a good sign because, with a name like Wasserman, it was kind of hard getting your parents to send you to a Catholic school. I was able to look and look, Mom, no, it's Levy, and I'm not the only one. So that helped. And we were off on the right foot at that point. But I'll tell you, once the first year starts, it's kind of a frightening experience. I'd start off the morning going into Professor Hanawal's Zen in the Art of Joint Torture. It was always a fascinating experience to see how Professor Analog could take something incredibly simplistic and just forget it. I'm sure a lot of you remember that. From there, I moved on to solemn meditation, of course, into the sheer horror of Professor Jimenez's civil procedure class, which most of you know is better than the Spanish Inquisition. So that was a beaut. From there I'd go to, I don't know how many of you had Professor Galloway, where you'd be subjected to analysis that was like so in-depth that, I became an expert on Justice Rehnquist's personal hygiene habits. And also the percentage of times that Justice Marshall disagreed with his cologne, Professor Galloway, now, a lot of you won't get this next one because this is Professor Zareski, but I go up to Professor Zareski, which is basically modern constitutional law interpretation through progressive wardrobe selection. And needless to say, if you made it through Professor Zareski's common law class without losing your retina from color blindness, you were immediately one up on the game. But after you have these classes, you come to the Oasis. You'd walk into, we were in room 142, and there he was, in the tweed jacket, one of those fish ties that Dean Strong probably, sent to him. And it was beautiful, you had balloons for UCC Day, and operatic music to illustrate a contractual nuance, and the ability to surround yourself with commercial outlines and not fear retaliation or something like that. So Professor Levy truly was an oasis for the first year, and it was really important. So to show our gratitude, our gratitude, I'll be a lawyer, huh? We would like to present Professor Levy with some gifts to represent him from the student body for our appreciation, and I'm sure many of you here for all your fine years and nice little pats on the back. So I'm going to pass this over real quick to Danny Kirwan.
Regarding the first award, the first year of law school is very terrifying. And Professor Levy is very hospitable to the students. So if those of you who don't know this, he invites his entire first year class, so groups of 5 and 6 at a time, to his house. When I got the invitation, I was ecstatic. I thought, I'm having a tough time in school. This is my opportunity to go to a law professor's house, see how I have to play the game, see how I have to get through school. But there was one thing on the invitation that bothered me. He said on it that sherry would be served. I never had sherry before, and I asked the guy next to me, you ever tasted sherry? And he said, no, I haven't, but I think it's a little bit like wine. And I thought, well, if it's wine, I'll brave it. I can get through this day. So, eager as ever, well, with my suit on, I showed up at Professor Levy's house and walked in, talked a little bit. And he said, Danny, would you care for some sherry? And I said, oh, I'd love some. I'm trying to impress this guy. He's got control of my life for the next year. And he poured me a big glass, and I put it to my mouth, and I hated it. It was the worst tasting thing I've ever had in my life. But I was afraid to throw it out because I knew he would look up my social security number and flunk me from his class. The guy is known as the memo king. I knew he would fire off a memo to all the other professors who would flunk me as well. So I just wanted to say that, Herman, it's almost the night. Sherry is somebody you date. Not something you drink outside. So, as your first student appreciation gift, we got you a 6-pack of beer. I don't know if the rest of you had this problem when you were all here, but parking here in Santa Clara is absolutely horrendous, and it's getting no better with the implementation of our new area. Though I got to admit, though, I often see Dean Ullman out there knee-deep in mud with me, so I guess I don't feel too bad. But as we all know, Professor Levy is kind of like for some reason, he has this fixation with parking. And he was one of the people that anytime you look in the grapevine, there's, look out, we've got people going to be ticketing this week. Either that, he's constantly on the prowl for parking offenders, and he's always trying to increase the percentage that Santa Clara clears for those tickets that we all seem to get stuck with. So we figure, Professor Levy, that you're really just kind of a frustrated meter maid or something. We got you the junior parking police enforcement kit. With your own badge and whistle. Yeah, I'm sorry, it is a semi-automatic rifle, so. Sorry. It makes a great sound. The second thing is, I don't know if you're all aware of this, but currently the old moot court room in Bergen Hall is being revamped and re-updated and expanded a little. And poor Professor Levy, his office is being cut in half. And I know that he fired, Memo Man fired off a volley of well-drafted memos in opposition to this proposed plan. But needless to say, it didn't work. So we got you half a clock. So it actually works. It's a battery. The last thing that I'm going to be giving him is, you'd really be surprised the amount of information that you learn in Professor Levy's classes. In contract, for example, I remember we were discussing the application of damages. And if any of you are familiar with contracts, you know one of the landmark cases is Hadley v. Baxendale.
And Professor Levy came up with this incredibly, this apparent thing that I couldn't find a horn book or anything. And he informed, and I swear to God this is true, he informed us that if we were to view the X-rated film Behind the Green Door, he said that we would notice in the credits a Mr. Hadley V. Baxendale as one of the performers. So, never refusing a fascinating legal assignment. I tracked this film down. I fast-forwarded to the credits. And lo and behold, it was there, Hadley V. Baxendale. So, to commemorate this monumental contribution to the legal community, we got you your own copy.
The last gift we'd like to give you is in commemoration of your support for a group who isn't well appreciated, and they really don't appreciate themselves, the Bergen Hall Barristers. Maybe you're here tonight. The guys would have been here, however, being a Saturday night, it's 8:45, they're off in the library studying. They couldn't make it. We'd like to give you our 1988 tour shirt, who some of the alumni who are on the rugby team actually paid for, and they didn't get theirs yet. Displaying the emblem that, well, I won't show that too much, thank you. We'd like to say the Bergen Hall Barristers have really appreciated your help. Student body appreciates your help, and Paul and I really appreciate you as well. Thank you very much.